But yeah, a dull knife, yeah, it may not, it actually will do more damage when it cuts you, and you will lose control easier, so that it's easier to cut yourself. So you always want to have good sharp knives. I'm using a knife, of course, that's made by Victorinox, which is, of course, who makes your Swiss Army knives. So now after we get this onion cut, we're going to leave it sit there for a second. We're going to make sure that this is stirred up. Now we're going to take about 1/3 of a cup of this after we stir it up a little bit. And before okay, and now we're going to add the 14 ounces of chicken broth. Now, if you don't have a can that's that size, or you get one of those larger jugs, they sell it in a ½ gallon, like you do almost like milk, and you can buy it right on the shelf at any store. So what you're going to want to probably use is about 1½ cups, maybe 1 2/3 cups, but 14 ounces is what you're shooting at. And we're just going to pour that right in with the soy sauce and with the wine and the sugar. And we'll put that entire can in there, and we'll set that to the side. And stir it up a little bit, because this is going to be not only the broth, but it's also going to be your marinade. And so we're going to take about, I'd say about 1/3 of a cup of this. This sugar stirred up really good. You don't want that to be caked at the bottom when you do this, because you do want that sugar flavor to permeate into the meat. Now when you do the meat, you can also marinate the meat, depending on the flavor of the meat. If you want it real strong with the flavor, marinate it the night before for as many hours as you want, depending on the flavor that you're looking for. We're only going to be doing it for about an hour. So you take about 1/3 of a cup, and I'm just going to pour it over the meat there. And we'll put this back on. And I'm going to put this, we're going to turn that on high and get that to a boil. Then once we get it to a boil, we're going to take this onion and add it to it. And you just want to, when you marinate it in a short period of time and without using the entire sauce, because if you wanted to do this for a long version, you marinate the meat several hours before. Then, when you're ready to cook it, you take the meat out of the broth, cook the onions and broth together, and then add the meat after you cook it later. This way we're doing the marination right away, so we're just going to let it marinate while it's cooking. We're not going to have as much broth in there, so you got to stir it up every so often. You got to make sure that you're getting it covered and it's continually going over it. So about every 3, 4, 5 minutes, just stir your meat. It's actually probably much easier if you marinate it for a longer period, but for this web show, I want to do some things that are going to be a little easier and show it straight through. I don't want to have you sitting around for a long time waiting. Alright, we just got that stirred up really good. We've got this heating up over here, and we're waiting for it to boil. And we're going to go ahead and, I got the water. It's 8 cups of water, 8 cups of rice, 2 tablespoons of butter, which we're just going to drop in there. And then just about a good tablespoon of salt to put in there. Gives it a little bit of flavor and helps that water boil a little quicker. And while we're waiting for that, it's starting to get heated up now. We're going to start adding the onions to it. And like I said, if you add the onions to the broth and you marinate it with the onions, you get a lot more onion flavor in the meat. But as I said, for this web show, I wanted to do it this way so you could see it step by step. Otherwise, it would take a lot more editing. And this will work just fine, and this is good for this is a quick way to do it. So that's another reason I wanted to show it, is I want this to be quick meals. You can make this in about an hour cooking time and about an hour prep time. So it's not really that long. So if you have a guest or someone that you're inviting over, it's a very good meal to cook. Very flavorful. And we're just going to let that sit there, and we're going to let it come to a boil. I'm going to take one of my, I'm going to call these the cover plates. But I use plates to cover up things while they're boiling. I don't use lids very often. And we're going to put that on there, and we're going to let that cook up. And then when all that's ready, then we're going to cook the rice. We're going to cook the meat, put it into the sauce, and then we'll eat.